How's it going, everyone? Nick here with McGaughys Suspension, and I always started off by saying I'm excited about showing you guys this one, but again, we got something different, which is exciting to say the least. It is a truck that we've done before, as in the model number, but it's black, and we haven't done a black one yet. We've done a white one, and we have not done a black one yet. So this is a video is going to be on this black 2025 GMC AT4X, and it has AE Edition front bumper, rear bumper, and all the other accessories that the AEV includes. So that's what's kind of special about this one, because it's black and we haven't done one yet. It also has a really nice set of wheels and tires underneath it. And real quick here, I'm just going to start off by saying, like, this one's built by Signature Performance here in Costa Mesa. Came down and I grabbed the truck and took it around the corner, and I'm doing a video on it because, again, they've been helping out and supporting us. So I wanted to do the video on the truck because Daniel over there, he called me up and said, "We got another one, Nick. You want to shoot it?" And I said, "Yes, let's shoot it." So here it is. I hope this is going to be informative for you guys that are watching, that are really interested in doing a kit like this to your truck and are really thankful for this kind of information. If there's anything that I'm missing out on information that you are asking about or thinking about or concerned about, by all means, throw it down in the comments. I'll pay attention to them. And then if I can't answer them in this video or comment back with it, then I'll concentrate on trying to put that into the next video and making sure that I accomplish that for you, because my goal is to help inform you of all the pros, cons, or just little miscellaneous information that you need to build a truck just like this one and be happy with the money that you're spending, because this is a very expensive truck, whether you have a standard, Denali AT4 or an AT4X or even this AEV Edition truck. So let's get into it real quick here. It obviously has our 4-inch McGaughys non-torsion bar drop kit, which let's look underneath here and show you. Right underneath there, you see that the torsion bars are not hanging down. They're in the factory position still, which makes it a non-torsion bar drop style kit. You'll see that cam bracket there that goes to lower control arm. That helps, basically not helps, but it's designed to keep the torsion bars in the factory location, so you don't have any ground clearance issue with them hanging down, let alone it looks a lot cleaner and just overall just a nicer look to everything. So let's, now that it's got the 4-inch kit on it, we'll go into details with some of the other components underneath the truck, but let's go over the tires and wheels while we're out this far looking at the truck. So this truck is running a set of 37 1250 by 18-inch Toyo RT, I believe they're the Pro Series. Let's see real quick here. Yep, they are the Pro Series, which we haven't done a video on a truck with these tires, and they are a newer tire that Toyo released. And they've got a pretty cool looking aggressive tread pattern, but they've, from what I've been looking up, they've got some great reviews for all around driving characteristics and stuff like that. So this is a new tire that we've been seeing online, and finally we have a truck here with that tire underneath it. So let us know what you guys think about this tire. A lot of them that we've been shooting has the Nitto ridge grapplers, so this one's a little bit different, and I think it looks pretty cool. It matches the vibe of this AEV Edition truck, because this AEV Edition truck with the bumpers and just everything else, just kind of, it fits it. Let me know if that's if you feel the same. Wheels. Okay, wheels are KMCs. We're pretty familiar with KMCs. We see them a lot on these trucks just because they have a really nice 18-inch wheel selection, and these are going to be an 18 by 9, and they are a positive 18 offset, which, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that equals a 5.75 backspace, which I'll confirm that 100%, and all this information will be down in the description. So if there's any mishaps, I'll just note those in the video, and I'll put them down in the bottom too as well. My goal is to help you guys get the exact details down to the T, so that's why these details are pretty important, in my opinion. So the truck, if you look at it, looks pretty damn level, and it is. So I'm going to go over some measurements with you so we can talk about this stance of the truck. So I'm big on measuring from the center hub to the fender right there, front and back. And the reason why is because that gives us an understanding of exactly how tall the truck is sitting. Out of the box, these kits are designed to be starting at 4 inches and go all the way up to 6 inches at maximum ride height. I like to try to, if someone DMs me and messages me and asks me for my opinion, I would like to try to see, you know, the best repercussions out of this purchase be used between 4 to 5.5 inches. If we're talking about 6 inches of ride height, you can do it with our upper control arms added onto it. But at that point, I start to discuss the possibilities that maybe you might be right for a 7-inch kit. So that's a whole discussion in itself in another video, or if you guys have any questions about the differences between if you're right for a 4 to 6 inch kit or a 7 to 9 inch kit, by all means, get in touch with me and we can discuss it for your particular wheel and tire package and what you're trying to accomplish. But this truck is our 4-inch kit. It is sitting at 4.5 inches. And how do I know it's sitting at 4.5 inches? Is because, again, I measured from the center hub to the fender. And the measurement on this truck is 28.5 inches. Now, let me go over some and then real quick on the rear center hub to fender, it is 27 3/8. Now, you might say, Nick, how is it that you're telling me this truck sits level when the front fender height is taller than the rear? Well, that's because these trucks have a taller, higher cut fender in the front than they do in the rear. So when you're looking at stance, you don't go off of that center hub to fender on the front to back. That is not what you're going off of for the actual stance of the truck. You can use that like as in a baseline, but when I'm using those measurements, that's because I'm looking at trying to figure out where this truck at is in ride height. So how I determine stance, level, front to back is I measure, there's a pinch weld. Show you right here. Let me open up the door. Okay, so there's a pinch weld right here, and then you follow it all the way down to the backside of the cab, and the pinch weld continues right here. That's where the cab meets the bottom of the floor, the side of it's pinch weld. So that is level, okay? And our measurement on the front pinch weld from the ground to the pinch weld is 23.25 inches. The rear is 23.75 inches. So that is telling us that we've got a 1/2 inch of rake to the truck. So the back is up a 1/2 inch more than the front. To me, 1/2 inch is level because at that point, one thing to note is that if you're dead nuts level, these trucks have a very tall hood line compared to the bed rail. And with that stated is that if this truck was completely dead nuts level, usually that's when people start to say, oh, the truck looks like it's sagging, it's the back end's lower than the front and whatever. So what I've found is usually trying to find about a 1/2 inch higher in the rear on the pinch weld than the front. That will give you a level look. Now, if you want more of an aggressive look, then go to 3/4 inch higher in the rear than the front. But, you know, 1/2 inch is usually what I've been seeing looking good on these trucks. I will note, to get this stance in the rear, we only have our 1 3/4 rear block. Let me show you real quick here. And with that 1 3/4 rear block, there is no shims installed. So the shims go in between the block and let's see if I can get in there, but that's the block right there. And usually the shims are going to go in between the spring pack and the block. Those shims are included in the kit, and I just want to note that there's no shims on this truck. So if you're trying to build the truck just like this out of the box, you use no shims. And just to note, so if some people get confused, shims, why would you put shims in between a block and the leaf spring? You're not supposed to stack blocks and all that stuff. So real quick, that is your center pin. If you take that center pin out, that holds all the leaf springs together. Our shims are designed, you take that center pin out of the leaf spring, and then our kit comes with a new center pin. You slide one shim or 2 shims, depending on how tall you want to go, onto the center pin, and then you put the center pin through the leaf spring, and you bolt it all together, and those shims become one pack of the leaf spring, and then that goes on top of the block, and that's how you get your height. You're not stacking block on top of block. So I just want to be clear about that. I try to note that in all the videos because it is something we're doing a little bit different than a lot of other companies. And so I know there's a little bit of resistance on that sometimes, or thoughts and feelings. So I want to make sure that it is explained correctly. But those shims go into the spring pack, but they do achieve height. Allows you to modify your stance, your front to rear stance for your specific desire. Everyone's a little bit different. And again, like if this truck wanted to go up to 3/4 inch, difference from the front, then simply put one shim in the pack. If you want to go, you know, a little bit higher, you can put 2 shims in the pack. So that's breaking down the front to rear and the ride height and stance on how it's sitting level. Let me also talk about again the center hub to fender in the front of ride height. A standard HD truck, and you can go and measure your stock truck. You can go to the dealership, measure your stock truck. A standard AT4, a Denali Ultimate, any of your GMCs, okay, are going to be sitting, the 24 and newers specifically, are going to be sitting on the showroom floor from center hub to fender at 24 inches. And when you go to the AT4X, whether it's an AEV or just a standard AT4X, those come off the showroom floor with a 2-inch lift kit on it. That kit gets replaced by our kit. So you take out the 2 inches, that comes down to 24 inches. You add our 4-inch kit back to it, that comes up to be 28 inches. We close the door there. And since this one's up a little bit higher, this one's at 4.5 inches, that's how we determine the ride height. And the ride height is adjusted by the torsion bars that are located underneath the truck, and you simply just adjust them. I know there's some stuff talked about online to where don't over crank your torsion bars. Well, just note that they are a GM design that adjusts the ride height. You can adjust the ride height. It's just how far up or low you adjust your ride height is going to give you characteristics of positive or negative characteristics of ride quality and other handling issues and stuff like that. Because if you're not in the right percentage, if you're not in the right percentage zone of ride height, then you'll see some drawbacks on that. So this one's set up at 4.5 inches. It still has plenty of droop travel. So let's talk about droop travel. We've put up videos and we try to basically give out the knowledge of like, hey, if you overstretch your suspension, you lose your droop travel, which you see right here. A lot of times you'll have no space in between the upper control arm and the frame. That means there's no or less droop travel than normal. These trucks off the showroom floor, again, come with about 3 inches of droop travel. So at ride height, it can drop out. The suspension can drop out 3 inches. That's on a factory truck. We don't want to diminish that. We want to keep that design characteristic in the suspension. So at this ride height, 4.5 inches, we jacked up the truck. I'll insert a little clip here showing that I jacked it up, and I let the tire hang, and I spun the tire just to make sure it was off the ground. And that spec from fender to center hub was 32.25 inches. So when it's all said and done, we have achieved droop travel, plenty of droop travel. And yes, some people might say, well, you can go up higher. You could go up a little bit higher. Just like we said, this kit with these upper control arms are designed to go up to 6 inches. So if you do the calculation, that's where we get the allowance to go up to 6 inches. So again, if you have any questions about any of this stuff that I'm discussing and talking about and describing, feel free to reach me on our social media pages and I'll go over it with you. More than happy to. I want people to have the best results. Let's look at the tire poke. I have the tire turned, but you can kind of see there that it's pretty, oh, let's look on the backside real quick here. Look at this. I mean, I don't know about you, but that looks like it's pretty much flush. The tread is underneath the fender and the tire bulge is just sticking out just slightly. And just know that on the AT4Xs, that this fender sticks out a little bit more than a regular HD on this truck. So just note that. All this stuff that I'm showing you on this AEV truck, just know that it still all comes down to the final results of relation to a AT4, an AEV, or a Denali Ultimate, an AT4, regular AT4, or just a regular standard HD. All those model trucks will end up like this if properly installed and set up at 4 inches, okay? So don't mind, I know there's a lot of talk about the AEVs and the AT4Xs have different suspension. They do have some different suspension characteristics to it, but it does not change the ultimate final result. They'll all sit the same. I can line up all the different baseline trucks, whether it's in Denali Ultimate, and AEV, and AT4, I can line them all up with our kit, all set up the exact same, and they'll all sit exactly the same when it's all said and done. So I want to let you know that. Don't be worried if you're watching this video and you're like, I don't have an AEV, and there's some confusion online. Again, it's going to end up the exact same. You just order a different part number lift kit from us, because the different part number will include the shocks, if depending on which truck you have, or no shocks, and brackets for the multimatic shocks, because this truck, the AEV edition or the AT4X, have the multimatic shocks in there. So you can see we're still using those. We're not deleting that. Let's go over to this other side here and show you some, oh, hold on. Really need to explain this. So we were talking about tire poke. So again, you see there, it's pretty lined up. So I want to tell you guys, our 4-inch kits have 0 track width gain. So that means our kit does not push the track width out at all. So that's why you're seeing everything nice and flush. I want to show you down here. If you notice that frame bolt, let's see if I can get down there real quick. All right, so if you notice here, that bolt, that was the original position of the lower control arm at the frame where it pivoted. Our kit drops it down, and you'll see that it's straight up and down, and there's the new bolt for the lower control arm. So that is straight up and down. There's no track width gain, okay? I've had some people say, oh, I think my kit doesn't, but some people say it does. How do I find out? Real quick there, you can look underneath your truck and you can see if the bolt holes line up. Usually on most kits, they're sitting about yay, 1/2 inch or so to 3/4 inch, depending on which kit you have. But our kit has no track width gain, which is a positive, because that means then you don't have front wheels that stick out further than the rear wheels. That's a positive. And then also note as well, a lot of times these lift kit manufacturers are pushing out the front wheel because the track width, so then they can fit deeper backspace wheels. Well, I will tell you, with our no track width gain 4-inch kit, our knuckle, or steering knuckle, is still allowing up to a 5.75 backspace wheel on a 37-1250 tire. So if you see in there, there's still room. There's still room up in that area. So can you push that limit a little bit? Sure, but we're calling it a day at 5 3/4 backspace and 37-1250. That is on an 18 or 20 or 22 inch wheel, 24, whatever size wheel other than, from a 18 on up. Now, I want to note that this kit will not fit your factory 18, unfortunately, because it does have a higher than 5.75 backspace. And then also, with that said, the other issue is not so much right there, but it's going to be in your tie rod clearance as well. So a factory 18 will not work unless you're using wheel spacers. So that's sometimes talked about, and if you have any questions about that on you wanting to run your factory 18-inch wheels, just hit me up and I'll help you get dialed in on what you need to make that work. So 4-inch kit set up at 4.5 inches. I want to note, check out those CV angles. So if you got a factory truck in your driveway right now, go out and look at your angles, and you should see them exactly like this. You should see your tie rod angle exactly like this. Your ball joint angles, everything like that should be, nice and almost completely horizontal. And so the best thing about that is that now you're riding down the road at a neutral spot of suspension travel. So now the suspension can drop out or it can compress, and you have full movement and articulation in all those joints, okay? Other kits on the market will have a heavier CV angle, and you don't want that. People do it, but at the end of the day, this is going to give you the best results. People talk about idler and pivot arms wearing out prematurely with big tires. Well, again, if you have heavier tie rod angles, the thing that a lot of people don't see is that center link right there is not straight. It's got a jog on the end. So any angled push on that center link is going to rotate it back and forth, which then puts a lot more wear and tear on the idler or pivot arm joint. So factory, they design these trucks to have level tie rods, and we are trying to put these right back where it was designed factory, so there's an even direct push and pull back and forth, not an angled push and pull to the center link, and you're also not putting a lot of angle force on the ball joint on the tie rod. So those are just things, again, when we talk about putting all the geometry back into place like factory, these are the things that we're talking about here. Obviously, we have enough compression, and then for the people that are like, oh my God, You got that much compression trouble? No, we don't. The bump stop is actually located in the back. This is no longer used, so don't pay attention to the space that's there because that does not even contact anymore. That's pretty typical on any of these lift kits on the market these days. Also to note, you see our CV, and there's no CV spacer in there because again, there's no track width. A lot of times too, you can see on some of these kits that they have a CV spacer on one or both sides. And then also too, just be aware that sometimes these manufacturers go off of, there is some plunge, which basically plunge on these CV shafts, and they'll have a little bit of push on the track width, but they won't do any spacers because they're within that 3/8 of an inch or 5/8 of an inch of plunge to be able to push the CV out and extend it out as far as possible. Again, now you're just making the CV run at the very end of the cup, and you could jeopardize a failure in that point again as well. Our diff is dropped exactly 4 inches. That's another thing to note as well. That's how we're getting these CV angles and tie rod angles, everything all equalized. We're dropping everything down exactly at 4 inches to put it all back to stock. So this is a very, very, very nice, well-built truck. I think, you know, another thing I want to point out that I missed just right now, I just realized, is that Signature Performance has been knocking it out the park, because I just remembered, like, guys, they paint the CV shafts here at this installation. That side of the axle as well, the center axle, that is painted as well. That's a huge thing. It's a big pet peeve of mine. And if there's any shops out there that are watching this that are saying, oh man, I don't paint them, and so you're saying that that's not, it just doesn't look good. It's just not, it's not a good final result. So if you're having your truck lifted, even if it's, you know, going, if we're shipping something to you, one of our dealers is shipping a kit, and you're doing it at your house, you're doing it with a shop, make sure you point out to them, hey, whoever, you know, whatever lift kit shop, please do me a favor and paint my CV shafts and my diff. Pay the extra money, have them paint it. It'll make all the world into difference at the end of the day. I mean, gosh, these trucks are probably bare minimal, brand new off the showroom floor, $75,000 onwards up to 100K. Why not spend a couple $100 and have all the parts painted underneath it so it doesn't look like, it doesn't look old? Because I guess I'm jumping a little bit forward, so let me explain myself. The CV shafts, the front center axle, all that, you can look underneath your truck. That's all raw from factory. Unfortunately, I know I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's all raw. And so a lot of lift kit shops will install your lift kit and leave all that raw, and then quickly you're driving down the road and you're like, oh, you pull up to a parking spot and you look underneath your truck and it just looks all rusted up and everything. So you guys have seen it. We've also, you know, we've posted trucks that have been built in other places and they weren't painted and they just look rough. So do yourself a favor and have everything painted. Like always, I did measure out this truck. The specs that I told you on the fenders. I do have the roof height, the bed rails, the bed floor. I have all the measurements down below in the description for you to note and figure out if maybe you need, if this is going to work for you for a cab over camper, a fifth wheel, or if you're trying to put it in your garage and you need the roof height. All that stuff's going to be down in below in the description. So yeah, if there's anything that I've missed, I think I've pretty much squeezed as much juice out of this whole deal as possible. Actually, you know what? I just thought something else. This is an AEV truck, and which the AEV front bumper is all plated steel, okay? And it comes with a plated skid plate, stamped steel plated skid plate that goes down to the cross member. So just to note, if you have an AEV like this, they will cut the skid plate just to meet the front cross member, okay? And then the skid plate that goes in the midsection, because it's 3 skid plates, it's the front one, it's a mid one, and then it's the one behind that. So the one that's in the middle is not going to be used anymore, which is that section that's cut off. And then in the back here, you're going to still have another skid plate that goes underneath in the center, and or excuse me, midway, and then center. Those go back on. That's not an issue. It's just a front skid plate that's stamped steel that needs to be cut and trimmed to the front of the lift kit. I think that's it. I think I conquered everything. So again, like always, my name is Nick, McGaughys Suspension. Love these trucks. Love helping you guys out. If you guys got any questions, feel free to DM me on Facebook or Instagram. You can drop a comment, but please note, please note that YouTube does a terrible job of alerting us. I don't get a notification saying the first time that you comment, I get a notification, but the second time or third time, I don't get it to see it. So we can't continue a conversation really easily on YouTube. So I do want to note that. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook at McGaughys. Our profiles, you can find me on there. I do all the posting and all the commenting on there and stuff like that. So you can find me on there. If you have any questions, DM me. I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you, help you out, get this, a package figured out for you, and answer all your questions. Man, this truck is beautiful. Tell me what you guys think. Thanks for all the support. Can't wait until the next truck. Guys, I love trucks. I love this AEV. Hopefully yours is going to be the next one. Thanks for watching.